Yo, it's Julian on the brown note, and because I'm working so much, I'm doing loads of overtime in my real world job. I've done a lot of very wordy pieces so far for a while. So this isn't a full piece on AUKUS or Scott Morrison versus China versus France, a debacle which even for him is of Olympic standard. So this is just a dipping my toe in the water. AUKUS, what is it? I don't know. AUKUS. Just a kind of soundbite that Morrison loves. I just wanted to say a couple of things about it. Now, he has famously ditched via text message a $60 billion deal with a €60 billion deal with the French that was signed in 2016 to build nuclear submarines, ignoring the fact of spending so much money building nuclear submarines for 20 years in the future, being a questionable use of public funds when we can't afford a lot of things like, raising the dole that actually might affect people's lives. And the amount of times nuclear submarines are ever likely to be used in human history and ever have done, kind of a white elephant. But he managed to ditch that deal via text message. The French found out it in the media when he proudly stood alongside Joe Biden and Boris Johnson. Isn't it a relief that that wasn't Trump? Isn't it a relief that this wasn't the holy trio of Murdoch stooges on display and it was actually Biden? And he's now gone for this American pact with Joe Biden and Boris Johnson, and that will apparently counter Chinese influence in the region. And it's drawn furore from China, who say that this is a deliberate attack on them. And also from France, who say you have just reneged on a massive deal. They recalled their ambassador and so on. So I just wanted to go over a couple of points here. Firstly, if the French and the Chinese are wondering what the strategy is here, there is none. Scott Morrison is very, very stupid. If you think that this is this guy that put us into this death spin against China last year, because he made some very, very hasty remarks about putting weapons inspectors in China to look at the virus origins, which caused a unmendable rift with our largest trade partner, costing billions of dollars, just so he could look good to Trump for a few days. Do you think that this is a guy that has a plan? Scott Morrison did this because it was worth some weight in the press for a week. And he could go to America and he could go to the UK and he could stand next to these people and make out like he was a big note. That's it. If you're looking for some deeper meaning here, and he may well have the idea that he is going to try and use jingoism around China as an election campaign. I've already done articles on that. But he doesn't think anything through. No one rational would have taken this action. He hasn't got a plan. He never has a plan. He has a track record of acting very, very rashly in all of these situations and taking terrible decisions where the ramifications will last forever. So he probably saw this as some good press when he's had a year of bad press. And the other major element to this as well, I mean, what he did to the French was just a jaw-dropping thing for an ally to do to another ally. I mean, he has made us out to be the least trustworthy nation on earth. And if there is tactics from the Americans, they want to form a bloc that isn't Europe, and they want to have a stooge in the region that isn't China friendly, and somewhere to park their nuclear missiles and somewhere to park their nuclear submarines. And they get paid, $60 billion for it. Yes, please. They'll take the money. They probably cannot believe that Scott Morrison was stupid enough to go with this. And Boris Johnson as well, he wants to form an alliance with America as much as possible to make Brexit look like a success, as the shelves are rather bare at the moment in the lead up to Christmas in the UK. But the other major, so there was self-interest on the go here. And Scott Morrison yet again throwing the entire country of Australia under the bus to get some good news. But this is the other part of this story, and why Australia's news media is so bad in this country. They report what he announces, and then they just taper off and don't pay any attention. Scott Morrison has a near-perfect track record of making big announcements and then you read the fine print afterwards, and nothing that he said is true or going to happen. Look at the rollout of the vaccine. Nothing that he said a year ago was true. Excuse me. And everything has fallen by the wayside there. This is exactly what's happening here. He has committed us to 10 years later than the French were going to deliver the nuclear submarines, and military experts believe that nuclear submarines will be obsolete by then. There is also the slight inconvenience that we may actually not get any submarines with this deal at all. It's purely an announcement. It will be ditched 10, 20 years from now when we still don't even have them. It is just an announcement. Again, a hugeless, reckless, dangerous announcement with massive ramifications just to get some press. I'm going to read this from, believe it or not, the Murdoch Press, Greg Sheridan. As things stand, it's unlikely Australia will ever get a nuclear submarine. All that we've done so far is cancel the French submarine. My guess is this delays any submarine by at least 10 years. It fills me with regret to say this, but analytically the conclusion is inescapable that the nuclear subs under the AUKUS rubric will probably proceed the way of all other submarine announcements by Australia. They will enjoy a brief flower of credibility before doubts creep in, critics become mobilised, the Prime Minister who ordered them moves on, and eventually they're consigned to the dustbin for a new submarine announcement that can enjoy its brief season in the sun. Our submarine acquisition process remains a complete shambles, and the chances of anything significant emerging remain remote. My colleague Dennis Shahan reported from a recent Prime Ministerial trip in the US that the government was not interested in leasing a nuclear submarine from the US over the next several years. On its own. Malcolm Turnbull savage in his attack on his decision to ditch the French subs. Turnbull exaggerates the diplomatic cost. However, the technical critique of the nuclear subs proposal was substantial. All we've done is so far cancel the French subs. It is likely as part of this deal, our acquisition of nuclear submarines will be to borrow American ones. And that's 30 years down the track. This is just an announcement by a reckless man with a track record of taking huge gambles with the entire country who should not be in a position to make such appalling moves. He had already deeply offended the Chinese. He's added the French to the list. We now have the potential of an unfriendly European Union when it comes to trading with us, who look at this deal and the fact that we reneged on it, and God knows what that's going to cost us in the long term either. Also, he could get some press. Genius work, Mr. Morrison. This is from Casey Musgraves, the unbelievably beautiful Casey Musgraves. Latest